You can go.
Hi, I'm Doyle with Southern Paranormal. Today and tonight we are at Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio. This is one of the most haunted places in the United States, and it's been on our bucket list for a while. We have drove 15 hours to get here. This building was built in 1896 and it was closed in 1990. Over 155,000 men have passed through these doors. On location is a cemetery. When families wouldn't claim the inmates, they were buried in an unmarked grave. We're going to look for that tonight and see if we can make contact with any of the souls that were here. A riot broke out here in the 1930s in the East Wing. The National Guard was called in to restore order to the facility. Also, there's legends in here of a prisoner named Lockhart. His cell was cell number 13. He said to haunt these halls. He poured turpentine on himself, lit himself on fire in the cell, and by the time the officers could get in there and get to him, it was too late. When they drug him out, just pieces of his flesh were just dragged and falling off of the bone. Tonight we'll have this location from 7 p.m. until 5 a.m. We're hoping to get out here, get some drone shots so y'all can just see the sheer size of this location. Also, it's got 4 or 5 tiers. This was the largest freestanding cell block at its time in the United States. Well guys, we hope to go live too with Periscope. I think we're going to have enough signal to bring y'all in on the investigation with us so y'all can join in, give us your feedback and everything. And we look forward to getting in here and see what we can find. Any experiences?
I don't know if this is actual paranormal, but like yesterday I was folding shirts on the counter and no one was near the counter area, like the place where you pay, and the plaque that we usually sell the audio onto kind of like fell over right near my feet, and like no one was near it. I'm like, who did I piss off here? I'm sorry.
How long have you been here?
I've been here for a month.
A month.
Yeah,
So it's all new to you then, ain't it?
Yeah, it's pretty new to me, but maybe somebody's telling me to get out. Who knows?
And maybe the first of many.
Yeah, probably.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hey guys, we're in Ohio State Reformatory. Most folks try to break out of this place. We wanted in. Only if there was someone that could help us understand the history and everything. Wait a minute. Who is this? This is Scott here. Look at here. We got the historian and ghost tour manager.
Yep. How you doing?
Doing good. It's nice to see you. We're glad to have you with us on it.
Glad for you to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit of the history of it? We've seen a lot about it, a lot of it on TV shows and different things like that. But maybe you can show us, firsthand here.
All right.
Some of the hauntings and legends of the place.
All right. Well, let me give you a little quick general history on the building.
Okay.
Opened up in 1896 as a reformatory, which is a little different than a prison. Mainly, the idea here was to bring these inmates here, teach them trades. They'll get their education and they'd get religion. They wanted to release them as better citizens because these weren't hardcore felons originally. They were essentially guys between the ages of 16 and 30, and it was their first offense, and that was pretty much it. So, I mean, they still had a chance. They weren't hardened criminals.
What was the average sentence for someone?
Originally, it was an indefinite sentence, but it always started off as 18 months. No matter your crime, you were going to be sent here for 18 months, and then depends on your behavior while you were here, you could be released in those 18 months, or they could hold you over longer. So, yeah, later on in the years, right around 1970, the state decided to turn this into a maximum security prison, and from 1970 until closing date, December 31st, 1990, we housed the worst of the worst. So,
Now we've got how many tiers here? Is it 5?
this is actually the East cell block. This is the world's largest freestanding steel cell block. It's 6 tiers high, 600 cells.
Okay.
So you would have about 1,200 inmates over here.
This was the tallest freestanding at the time, or was
no,
it
it's
steel?
still.
Oh, steel.
Still.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh,
Now,
yeah.
we've seen a lot of them too that had the short banisters. These look like they are all covered. Are they
Correct.
different sections?
All right, so this is the second cell block that was completed. They learned from the west cell block, which was the first cell block. The west cell block only has the hip-high railing, and they were having a lot of inmates getting thrown over the railing and jumping over the railing. So when when they saw that started to happen, and they were still in the process of building this one, they just did the bars all the way up. Yep.
And it's like it would have been something that would have been, easy for them to realize what was going to happen
Yeah.
if you only got, something.
Exactly.
But-
Exactly.
Now, the riot, or was it in this cell block?
Oh, the one from 55. That
55, okay,
that,
we thought
that
it
started
started.
off in the dining hall, and then I think it spilled over into the yard.
Okay, there wasn't one in here. Okay,
Well, there were numerous ones in this building. They really didn't technically call them riots. They called them uprisings. There was a bad one back in early 70s, and that actually ended in this cell block.
was the National Guard called in on any of them?
I know in the early 80s there was an incident here where the National Guard were called in.
We had our facts all mixed up here then when we did it first, because we thought it was in the 1930s and it was in this cell
I
block.
think I read that in the 1930s y'all had a riot in the East Wing.
This
If
is
I'm
East
reading
Wing.
correctly?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Not that I know of.
Oh, okay, because I just read that, I think it was a article I read on the History Channel. It said 1930s, there was a riot in the East Wing, a couple of inmates were hurt or killed, some employees were hurt as well. And that's some of the reasons why there's some unmarked graves there and stuff like that. Is any
Not
first-
that I'm
first-
aware of.
Okay, well maybe what I was reading, okay. Just wanted to make,
Yeah, I mean, that might have been at the
Air
Ohio Penn.
conditioning.
I mean, could have been in numerous prisons.
okay,
Yep.
okay.
All right, well, show us around a little bit if,
All right, well, let's go down here.
It's pretty much it's not disrepair, I guess, it's just a lot of age, I guess, on it, isn't it?
Yeah, this building sat vacant, well, essentially from 1991 until, about 1995 when we got the building. I mean, the windows have been broken out since the 60s, even when there were inmates here. But yeah, I mean, we're putting new windows in, we're drying the building in, and just trying to keep the weather out, and the animals and all that.
Well, I have to say it's pleasant in here with air, though. I mean, we're not
Yeah.
used to that. Now, I can also see some names up here on these, or I can't tell what it says, though, but,
That's just leftover from our haunted house that we had last year. Yeah.
I thought it might have been.
Oh, no.
Are there any inmates' names that are still on these cells, or were they ever etched into it, or were they just assigned to a number?
Pretty much the inmates just had their number, but there used to be little tags that they used to put on the doors, letting the corrections officers know who was in there and all that. And if they had if they were like a special needs inmate, like if they couldn't have a cellie, violent with the corrections officers, stuff like that.
Lockhart,
Mm-hmm.
cell 13, is that in this wing?
Yeah, actually, it's,
Are we pretty close? We're at 28 right here.
yeah, he's right back there on the fourth tier.
Have you ever had any experiences in here? Or
In this building?
well, yeah, I guess in the
Oh,
building
yeah.
or with
Oh, yeah.
Lockhart or any,
I've never had anything happen with Lockhart. I've got my own theory about that. But I mean, in the building, yeah.
what's your theory on Lockhart? I would love to hear that.
The story of Lockhart is not what everybody thinks. Yes, he did commit suicide by fire, but no, they didn't drag him down the tier with his skin falling off and all that.
Theatrics, huh?
Exactly. Okay, let's just put it like this. Before that episode of Ghost Adventures was aired, we never got anything out of that cell. We really didn't get anything out of that cell for like the next 2 years. But as the years went on, we started to get little bits and pieces and stuff like that out of that cell. You know, it could just be a weird smell. It could be, you know, that cell being hotter than the other ones. People have gotten EVP out of there. Now, it's not Lockhart that's up there. Because a lot of the EVP that people will get, they'll ask for his inmate number. And if you've known anybody who's been in a state prison for any amount of time, they could rattle their number off faster than they could say their name.
Mm-hmm.
The EVP have never gotten his right number. I'm one
Oh,
of the
really?
3 people who know his actual inmate number, and they're not even close.
What is the best piece of evidence that's came out of here?
Oh, geez. There are 7 or 8 really good pictures. There are several videos.
The videos are any kind of apparition, shadows, or
Shadow figures.
Try to get me out of there.
Tons of EVP come out of here.
shadow figures? On the video, yeah.
Video of shadow figures. Over the years, we've had 4 or 5 really, really good videos of full-blown, full-body apparitions on FLIR.
Where were they captured?
The last one was actually about a month ago up on that second floor over there. That was the old surgical ward. Down in the sub-basement.
Looks like a door there.
Yeah, if you go up the stairs right there, up to the second floor, right there.
Okay.
Down in the sub-basement, a few have been captured. Ghost Hunters Academy actually caught a really good one that blew my mind. Because, I mean, it was beautiful. But during that show, they sort of poo-pooed it because it was too good. The thing is, they didn't realize that the inmates and corrections officers have been seeing that guy go into that cell since the early 1970s. So they didn't know the history behind it. So they're like, oh, that's too good. It can't be real.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've seen that just here in the last week, I tell you. But
This is a toilet room.
I told them about that. This was where female apparition or female have been touched and grabbed in here, right?
It
Or pretty
has-
much throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, it's happened.
I guess over there is where we need to be, huh?
Doesn't matter. Goes to the same place. Probably the most interesting piece of evidence that I've seen caught out of here was a hooded shadow figure. Thing is, that hooded shadow figure has been photographed in different parts of the building. I have seen the hooded shadow figure
Really?
during the day.
Oh, wow. And do you think you caught it out of the corner of your eye, or did you
Oh,
actually
no,
look?
it lasted for probably 2 or 3 minutes. When
2 or
I
3
saw it.
minutes?
Oh, yeah. It was about 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning. I was shutting down after a ghost hunt, and the sun was up, and I'm walking down where we just walked down the east cell block. And back in those days, there was a lot of debris and everything still on the tiers. So I heard something crunching up on the 4th tier. I'm thinking, it's got to be a big raccoon or something like that. So I kept on walking, and then I stopped, and then I noticed that it took a couple more steps and stopped. That's a smart raccoon. So I tried it again, and took a couple more steps and stopped real quick. It took a couple more steps and stopped. And then, so I angled my path so I could see up easier onto the
Where was
forest
this
here.
at, you say?
Right out here.
Okay, east.
Yeah, and when I could see up onto the tier, it was a hooded shadow figure.
You couldn't get to that level quick enough, though.
Exactly. I'm thinking, you know what? I've been here for 22 hours straight. I just want to go home. I want to get this door locked up and just get the hell out of here. So I keep walking. I'm about 3/4 of the way down towards here because I was actually going to close that door up. And next thing I know, it just hauls ass down the range, and then it crosses over onto the catwalk that's right out here. And it just stops halfway on the catwalk and then turns and watches me. So I'm like, all right, I see you up there. I just need to close this door, and then the place is yours. Well, I close this door to the toilet room, and then I'm thinking, great, I have to go up to the second floor to close that door too. So I said, okay, I've got to go up one more flight of stairs, and then I'm out of here. So I went up, and as I started going up the stairs, I heard it run up the stairs up into the
Really?
library, up on the 3rd floor. So I closed the door up in the surgical ward and walked briskly out of here. So yeah, yep. Yeah, I never told anybody about that because, well, I didn't tell anybody about it for years and years and years. Because who the hell's gonna believe a solid hooded shadow figure? That's something that you see on horror movies. And a lot of my experiences that I have here, I don't tell anybody about because honestly, nobody would believe me.
Personal experiences, they're just that. I mean, you can't prove them, but
Yep.
they're real to you and you know it.
Yep, and then 2 years later, after that happened, somebody caught the same hooded shadow figure in the chapel. Then, a few years later, somebody caught the hooded shadow figure in here. So,
All over the place.
yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, this is the infamous toilet room. The reason we call it that is
Yeah,
because
obvious reasons.
we store toilets and sinks in here. This would have been the first floor of the second hospital. So this would have been like the emergency room from 1925 until 1951. After that, it was turned into a dormitory for a little bit, and then it was turned into the commissary till the end. One that we get that seems to hang out down here, his name's Mr. Saltz.
Saltz?
Yeah.
I heard a voice. I just heard something behind me.
Yep. But yeah, Mr. Saltz he usually shows up as a very large shadow figure. And he worked here. He was a very large man. And the reason he got his nickname Saltz is because when this was working as a hospital, the inmates, they would go down to sick call, to pass notes and, all that stuff. Well, if he found that you were not here because you were sick and you had different reasons for coming down to sick call, he would give you a mixture of Epsom salts and castor oil. So he made you sick. So, yeah, they called him Saltz. For years and years and years, people were always sort of leery about him just because he's so immense. But he, as the years went on, we started to realize that he's more of a protective figure for us. So, yeah.
I mean, that's comforting,
Yeah, so if you see a shadow figure that's approximately 6'7" and 350 pounds, that's Mr.
Big
Saltz.
boy.
That's the size he was when he was alive.
Wow.
So, yep.
I heard that too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That sounds like upstairs.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's interesting. Maybe they know we're here, huh?
Maybe. Yeah, this is my 21st year here, and I have experienced a lot.
Have you always given tours, or what was your...
A lot of times it was when I was here alone, or getting ready for a ghost hunt, or closing up after a ghost hunt.
I mean, you always served here as the same fashion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I see that it's a little different down there. Is that like stairs or
Where at?
where it jettisons out a little bit? Now I see birds in here too.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got bats and some pigeons.
He's got this thing he's wanting to see it in my head. It was at Hell's Bar. He was diving at me. I'm gonna laugh at it on your head.
Yeah, pretty much where it juts out, they designed it like that, just so the corrections officers could see down on the ground floor.
Oh, okay.
What tier they're on.
We got an inmate out of the cell, huh?
Yeah. And you be framed for Shawshank Redemption.
Okay. And that was filmed here, huh?
Yeah, September of 1993.
I've yet to see the movie.
I'm the same way. We'll edit that out. That's a good movie, wasn't it? What were these different? Because I mean, the cells look heavy duty here.
These cells are actually constructed of brick, while the east cell block was constructed of just steel. These cells are actually a lot larger than over the east block.
They're not like maximum security or anything, is it?
No, not really. It's just they realized that in this block they can only get 320 cells because of construction. But if they built it out of steel, they could put 600 cells in the exact same amount of space. So, yeah, this is the old original block.
What's behind you?
Oh!
Yeah, that.
But yeah, this was the original cell block. This was the cell block that the inmates would want to be housed on because the cells are much larger.
Just water piping?
Yeah, just a standpipe. Yeah, they had numerous inmates thrown over the railing over here, jump
And
over
these
the
are the
railing.
short ones, yeah.
Yeah.
So these were built how much earlier than these others? Did you tell me that? I missed it.
This cell block was finished up 1896, while the east cell block was finished up around 1908.
So, are there any stories on this end?
Oh, geez. There was the ghost that, starting in the 70s, the corrections officers and the inmates would see. That was actually down there. But activity-wise, shadow people, for about a month, for about 2 months now, actually. This area down here has been really good for EVP. Not like words, but more like guttural growls and stuff like that, yells, that fun stuff.
Have there been any attacks on the living in the location?
There have.
Or claims of it?
Yeah. People get scratched up pretty good. Last person to get scratched up was actually yesterday during the day tour. The night before we had 3 people scratched up.
Whereabouts?
1 in solitary confinement, 2 up in the west attic.
Did we go through solitary?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
This is the west wing. You have the west shower room on the first floor, and you have, let me see, we call it the Jesus room up on the second floor. But it was the second
Oh, wow,
floor.
this got a little different feel to it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the second floor was, for a long time, it was a dormitory.
What's there through here? Is these sails or?
No, these are just doors.
It's just doors?
Yeah, no, they're just
13.
rooms and stuff.
Yes. Maybe it's just me, it just feels like it does have a little bit of a different feel back in here.
Yeah, this building's weird. I mean, the activity moves around all the time. I mean, I could tell you where the activity has been like the past week, but who knows if it's gonna be there tonight.
They don't perform on command, do they?
Exactly. Right place, right time.
That's true. And for the most part, you have residual and,
Sentient ones.
yeah,
Yep.
have a little bit of both. The residual, what are ones that are just possibly
Yeah.
the moans and
See, I don't know. Because, I mean, like the EVP people were getting out here at the end of the east or the west cell block. I mean, it wasn't, moans off in the distance. It was, you hear footsteps coming up to the recorder, then he'd yell into the recorder, and then you hear him walk away. So,
that's interesting. There's a lot of history here. I mean, there's a lot of emotion imprinted in every corner of this place, probably, man.
well, I mean,
How many documented deaths are here?
documented, the state still has a lot of those records, but mathematically, knowing the average amount of deaths per year and the amount of years that it was open, about 2,350.
Death sentences.
No, death sentences.
So that was going to be my next question.
Oh,
What type of executions were they, or were they carried out in here?
we did house the inmates that were on death row for a little while, but we never executed them here. We would ship them out to the Ohio Penitentiary down in Columbus to have that done.
So there's no executions done here whatsoever.
Correct.
Okay.
But there is a twist.
Okay.
Last July, we received the electric chair. So
So the electric chair is here?
yeah,
Where is it at?
up in the museum, and that's got 315 executions on it. So
And it was, at what penitentiary was it at?
that one was down at the Ohio Penitentiary. All of the executions that were done in that chair were done down at the pen, and then later on in the years, they moved all the executions to Southeastern Ohio Correctional, which is in Lucasville, Ohio, and that's where we do executions now. But now we don't use the electric chair, we just, the lethal injection.
Now notice there's a correctional facility right next door.
Correct.
That was to take the place of this? Was this built or?
Actually, they were going to just tear down the entire complex here
Uh-huh.
and put that prison right here. But they ended up building another prison that essentially replaced this over on the other side of the railroad tracks.
Oh, okay.
So there's New Mansfield, and then there is Richland Correctional is the one that is directly behind us.
How many inmates are housed at the new location?
Between the two of them, about 6,000.
6,000. What was the occupancy here?
It was designed for 1,100. The maximum was 1933, and that was right at, almost 3,700.
Wow, they had them packed in.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow. How many to a cell? Was 2 to a cell?
Depends. We had cells that were 2-man cells that were turned into 3-man cells. We had 4-man cells that were turned into 10-man cells. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
And with that many people in there, you can't live without any conflict.
Exactly.
I mean, it don't matter who you are.
Yep.
All right.